Kenya describes recent stampedes across the country as a national tragedy.
Eight states in Nigeria commit funds to federal government renewable energy initiatives.
Federal government lifts ban on mineral exploration in Zamfara State.
On Good Morning Nigeria, today we shall discuss the presidential free transportation initiative.
And so free rail transportation in Nigeria began in 1891, precisely the Lagos-Ibadan rail line. Decades later, a rail network expanded to more than 3,000 kilometers across the country.
And fast forward to 2022, when the Nigerian Railway Corporation increased its passenger base to more than 3 million. Several states now have rail lines in the country.
Now, in the last decade, Nigeria experienced some progress in the rail transport sector after several decades of inactivity. States like the FCT, Kogi, among others, now have rail lines, and this has eased interstate transportation.
Indeed, Victor, several institutions are now on ground to further enhance Nigeria's rail sector. Among them is the Federal University of Transportation, Daura Katsina State.
And last Friday ushered in 16 days of free train rides for Nigerians nationwide, a bonus approved by the federal government for the festive season.
Indeed, and December 2024 to January 5th, 2025 is the window Nigerians have to enjoy these rides to different parts of the country. The gesture is to help ease transportation costs during the Christmas and New Year celebrations.
Announcement was made on Monday by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, after the Federal Executive Council, FEC, at meeting in Abuja. Passengers are expected to ply 6 routes, including Abuja, Kaduna, Lagos, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, Aba, Lagos Mass Transit, and Warri, Itakpe.
The initiative particularly targets vulnerable Nigerians. It will hopefully alleviate the financial burden of transportation costs at this time of the year. You know how expensive it is to travel.
There is also a bus component in this free transportation initiative. Now, this is the second time the federal government is offering free transportation service to Nigerians. Recall that last Christmas precisely, and Salah as well, during the holidays, Nigerians enjoyed these rides. Nationwide feedback from last year indicates that the free service eased transportation burden on benefiting Nigerians.
And the presidential initiative on free transportation this Christmas and New Year is our first topic on Good Morning Nigeria today.
We will also take a look at crowd management, especially after the recent stampedes in Anambra, Oyo, and the FCT. Now, this is the outlook of our program this morning. Thank you for joining us. I am Victor Azu.
And I am Juma Yusuf. Compliments of the season. We're reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. Our complimentary newspaper review comes up later, but first, let's get the news from Comfort. Amudu Comfort, good morning. Compliments of the season.
Compliments of the season, Victor and Jumai, good morning. Well, like Victor said, there was quite an unfortunate development over the weekend where some persons and even others lost their life due to a stampede, and the Vice President Kashim Shettima has offered prayers for victims of these tragic stampedes that claimed lives. describing the incident as a national tragedy. In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President of Media and Communications, Office of the Vice President, Stanley Nkwochi, said the incidents in Anambra, Oyo and FCT are heart-touching. Vice President Shettima expressed deep sorrow over these losses. He assured affected families that the federal government would provide necessary support during this difficult period. And in other news, 8 states in Nigeria have indicated interest with 30% counterpart fund to key into federal government newly launched interventions to increase access to electricity in rural. Executive Director Rural Electrification Fund Doris Ubo said the interventions will upscale solar energy connections and also boost rural economy.
Our expected outcome is to create an alignment between the different parties that are required to play a critical role in addressing the electricity access gap in the country.
Elsewhere, the federal government has assured international organizations of its commitment to strictly uphold agreements regarding funding for essential agricultural and rural development projects. This was disclosed by the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, along with the Minister of Women Affairs, Imam Suleiman Ibrahim, during a review meeting and discussion of budget for 2025 projects.
That the focus of the ministry at this point in time is to ramp up production and scale up value addition, thereby reducing post-harvest losses, ensuring food security, creating jobs and income for our farmers.
The federal government has lifted the ban on mining exploration activities in Zamfara State, citing significant improvements in the security situation across the state. Making the announcement at a press briefing, the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, stated that the nation has a lot to gain from the reawakened economic activities in a highly mineralized state like Zamfara State, which has vast gold, lithium and copper belts.
Announce to you that the President has approved the lifting of the ban on mining exploration in Zamfara State.
Nigerian force has dismissed claims made by Amnesty International regarding the alleged brutality during the bad governance protests in Nigeria, describing the reports as inaccurate and misleading. In a statement, the force explained that available evidence suggests certain elements infiltrated the protests to incite violence, damage property and jeopardize public safety. The police emphasized that their response involved the use of minimal force, strictly adhering to legal guidelines and without resorting to firearms. And the statement further clarified that all prosecutions were conducted within legal frameworks. It also refuted allegation of arbitrary arrest, maltreatment or denial of legal representation, insisting that the police officers deployed to manage the displayed a high level of professionalism in public order management across the country during that period. That's the news. Victor, Azu and Jume will be right back with the discussion for the day right after this break. Good morning.
Thank you. And right now it's time for newspaper review. Please stay.
Reviewer Chukudi Okolo Baja is seated with us in the studio. Chuk, the boy, compliments of this season.
Same to you, my dear. How has it been for you?
Alhamdulillah. We thank God for the gift of life.
Topsy-turvy, but now we are in this economy.
Now we and them. We did get the background.
Now we go conqueror.
Yes, we
Good morning, Chukudi. to wish or want is to be able, Victor. Will you conquer whatever snags you experience in the current economy? Well, the aim is to conquer, but you work towards defeating every adversity. Yes, let's learn to plan.
So, Chooks, while we plan, let's go to the newspapers. And I begin with the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And in the Vanguard newspaper, above the masthead, Edo suspended local government chairman resumed today. Details on page 12. FG to review upward 15 trillion Naira Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway. Find details on page 9. Tax reform bills, while we insist on withdrawal. That's coming from Ndume. And below the masthead, 2024 in review, how inflation, FX reforms, recapitalization, others shaped banking. Find details on page 4. And at the side piece of the picture story, Edo Akwa Ibom government mourn as ex-defense minister General Abu dies at 75. Details on page 12. 2025 budget bears of fiscal discipline. That's coming from former presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar. Advertising guru Biodu Shobanjo honored in Lagos. Find details on page 13. Abuja stampede, crowd overwhelming. We were swept away. That's coming from survivors. With riders, FG issued advisory on public events as Catholic Church can PDP mourn death toll hits 2022. I lost 3 persons in Okija rice stampede. That's coming from a businessman. You find details on page 6. FG lifts ban on mining activities in Zamfara. Details on page 23. Counting the gains of Tinubu's economic renewal by Mohammed Idris on page 27. Lukman is unique, as coming from former Okocha. Let's quickly go to the Blueprint newspaper and above the masthead, end bad governance protest. Police reject Amnesty International report, demand apology. Details on page 7. Below the masthead, Idris Commission's legacy projects connects Maragi village to national grid. Details on page 6. NURTW touts sell cash to POS operators as scarcity bites. Details on page 25. Chan, Eagles hold Ghana in Accra. And the headlines in the Blueprint newspaper, FG Omokri caution against politicizing incidents. Shetima assures support. With riders, police confirm 22 dead in Nambra. Buhari Wike Soludo consoles families. Ondo issues directives on crowd control, and Oyo government permits Gidigbo FM to use school. That's coming from old students. And by the picture story, Northern Christian leaders back tax reform bills, says it is biblical. And 4 years after, FG lifts ban on mining exploration in Zamfara, security operations resulted in neutralization of bandit commanders. That's coming from Alake. North, an asset, not a liability to Nigeria, Dume declares. Port Harcourt refinery fully operational. That's coming from the NNPCL. And fuel to sell at 935 Naira per litre from Monday. That's coming from Ipman. And from Kwara, IGP orders probe as man allegedly dies in cell over 220,000 deaths. Victor.
All right, thank you, Jumai. And I have the Guardian. And it leads with this: distrust others slow financial inclusion amid 4.3 trillion naira outside banks. Now that story is on page 6, but it has a pictogram which has a lot of details, actually, reasons for not having a bank account in percentage, and that leads with not enough money or no money at all, income not regular, both at 25%, 24%, banks are too far from where I live or work, and then you have some other ones, more trivial ones like security, services not available for my age, interest on loans too high, no reason at all, no job, it costs too much. Well, all of those on the front page of the Guardian, and it's also talking about 95% financial inclusion target for 2024 missed, and many Nigerians still don't trust banks, keep money at home. For adult Nigerians still excluded, exclusion highest in Northeast. 87 million Nigerians can't raise 75,000 naira. Nigeria needs 60,000 ATMs to boost inclusion, among others. Well, let's move to another headline or another story. 18,000 pensioners yet to receive benefits as PENCOM laments low funds. Student loan to be restricted to high demand courses. Stampede deaths trigger political blame game as FG defends Tinubu's reforms. That's on page 6. Atiku criticizes 2025 budget, warns of deepening economic challenges. Defections from LP won't stop Obi in a dump party, says Okukwe. That one is on page 3. And delayed salaries hamper Yulta 1,000 federal civil servants. That's on page 3. And finally, Ipman says members will sell fuel at 935 naira per litre from today. Chukwudi, this story on financial inclusion got me. It's well detailed here. I couldn't have taken all the details.
Yes.
But part of it, now you read that Nigeria needs as many as 60,000 ATMs to serve the country. And that's probably why you see POS competing with banks. You go enter a bank, there's no money. You step out, you see POS in front of the bank waiting to, serve a naira to you, because that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The thing is, why the insistence on the ATM when the POS has become an alternative to it? You're talking about penetration. ATMs are likely to charge you less and all that, but shouldn't we appreciate the fact that we're able to access financial institutions through the POS and all that? Opening a bank account now does not even require you to get to a bank. So it depends on how savvy, how informed the populace also are in terms of using these facilities. Financial inclusion is about financial services being available to as many people as possible, because that is going to reflect on their economic life, So it is something that needs to be continued. I think we are still at the 64% quoted for 2023. We wanted to get up to 95. So what we need to do now is to find out what those things are that have inhibited our desire to get up to 95%. Let's 80%,
But POS was designed to serve the underserved communities.
Yes.
Not POS taking up the whole space in town and taking the place of banks.
It's a cabal, it's a business.
And then you get a sense that money is now funneled to POS who charge exorbitantly, who sell the naira basically to you.
Yeah.
You are going to get 40,000 naira, and you are going to pay 2,500 to get 40,000 naira. What for?
No, it's not the POS that caused that. It is the money supply that caused that. You were not paying how much to get to how much 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So it's the money supply you blame.
Well, like you say, when you get 100,000 naira, how much are you going to part with? You part with more than 10% of the money.
It's not palatable.
It's not
palatable. I'm saying, let's put the blame where it should be. The people are telling you, we spend money to buy money. We buy money.
They don't buy money. They don't get it like other Nigerians, or they get it. It's not a fair game. They get the money from banks.
They get the money from banks. And like Chukwudi always say we must get the money from banks, right? Yes. But there are rumors going around that most of these ATMs around the banks are owned by bankers.
My dear Juma,
yes, POS machines are owned by bankers.
That's an entirely different layer of consideration or argumentation.
Of course, why else would we want to funnel money meant for customers?
Exactly.
Money that customers put in the bank.
We have seen many instances of subversion of good intent.
And even transfer is very difficult now. You keep trying to transfer, and they will debit you for the transfer, but the transfer doesn't go through, and then you lose your money.
That one has to do with connectivity issues. Now, let's look at the POS we're talking about. Somebody told me that the reason all these, what do you call them, is it money point, the reason they seem to be easier, they do not, the system they use for their transfers are even better than what the conventional, traditional banks use. You find, yes, you find it easier to patronize them. You send money to one of these fintech, whatever, you hear background immediately. Then send to the traditional banks. There are so many things to consider.
And then the traditional bank, you sit down and be looking at, when you hear a sound, you think it's the bank giving you a alert. Okay, let's quickly go over to other issues. 5 years after FG lifts ban on mining exploration in Zamfara State.
Very good one. Gold, lithium, and copper belts are said to be in abundance, so to speak, in quotes now, in Zamfara. And we have noted on this program that solid minerals are actually a big backbone to Nigeria if well exploited.
Yes.
So, Alake need all the support they can get. But you find out that what has been happening up north, particularly, is that bandits actually found the mines as a potential, real source, not potential, source of revenue, illegal revenue. What they are trying to do now is to get those things regulated into the system. Nobody says you can't mine, but do the right things first. So what we need to do is to empower the Ministry of Solid Mineral Development so that they would have more verve, more capability, more power to actually bring in as much of the revenue we're losing to illegal mining into the government coffers.
Yes, and over the weekend, the tragic incident, and
I don't know whether it is hunger. The politicians will talk like politicians. They seize every opportunity. The blame game continues. We don't want to be on their turf. They understand themselves. But let me ask a question. The explosions we were getting from scooping of illegal fuel have dated back to many years. Was it also economic vagrancy, or Nigerians find reasons sometimes to do that which does not quite help the self too easily? Now, yes, hunger is in town and all that, but that does not mean a country where order has been implanted in people practices order even in extreme circumstances.
Yes.
You might find out that this stampede is not going to happen in Ghana as easily as it would happen in Nigeria. The way you live your life, anyhow, livelihood does not help anybody. That's the point. So we have to learn order. A soldier will tell you, whatever the provocation is, he is trained to bear so many things.
Exactly. I don't believe that because I saw a video of people boarding a plane as if it was a mole.
Oh, can you hear that?
Well, I was so ashamed.
It's a flying mole.
Come on, Victor. I was so ashamed.
It's a flying mole.
We are going to remove him from this program.
In flying mode, when did you spend that again, Victor? Let me thank you, but before I do, you see, the net salaries hamper Utah for 70,000 federal civil servants. Unfortunately, you are not one of them.
Let me ask you, how much would the salaries have even brought?
Even pensioners is there, the pensioners is there.
Please, my dear,
go and enjoy
you're getting 1/3 of what you really spend now. I hope you don't owe too many people.
Thank you so much for coming. It's a beautiful morning.
Have a nice day, ladies and gentlemen.
Christmas, the Christmas is all around.
That's always making me happy.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Conversation begins proper after this break. Please stay with us.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And before we begin our discussion proper, let's take this background report by Timothy Yusuf.
Nigeria's road transport sector is believed to be fast emerging to take its pride of place in the nation's socio-economic spheres. This is coming amidst efforts to diversify the economy away from its heavy reliance on oil revenues. Expanding rail network will transform the economy. These successive administrations up to the present are hopeful that a robust rail system can lead to increased trade, reduced transportation costs, and improved access to markets, ultimately benefiting businesses and consumers alike. Some of the landmarks efforts are the ongoing Kano-Daura-Maradi Rail project with immense potential. Findings show that several states, including Lagos, Plateau, and Kaduna, have invested heavily in rail infrastructure, positioning the country for substantial economic gains. Experts say once freight operations commence from Lagos to Maradi and in line with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, the rail sector will generate significant revenue, leading to meaningful contributions to Nigeria's GDP, as well as fostering a more resilient economy. This is in the face of plans to link major economic hubs, including the Port Harcourt and Onne ports, through Aba to Maiduguri. This expansion aims not only to improve Nigeria's transport infrastructure, but also to elevate rail transport to compete directly with oil in revenue generation. Such developments could create thousands of jobs and stimulate local economies. Furthermore, the importance of human capital development through the University of Transportation Daura Katsina State aims to equip students with the skills needed to manage Nigeria's evolving rail system. More efforts by government to improve the transportation sector is in the area of the organized labor, receiving stock of new compressed natural gas CNG buses to ameliorate the transportation challenges of Nigerians. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has approved free train rides across the country from December 20, 2024 to January 5, 2025. This initiative aims to alleviate transportation costs for Nigerians during the Christmas and New Year celebrations.
We look forward to more of this. Very, very helpful.
This is actually the first time of me saying that something is being said is free and is actually free.
Stakeholders say the initiative is consistent with the President's desire to cushion the effect of transportation, especially for the most vulnerable Nigerians. The free train rides will operate on 6 major routes, including Abuja, Kaduna, Lagos, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, Aba, Lagos Mass Transit, and Warri Itakpe.
All right, many thanks Timothy Yusuf for that back. And to begin our conversation, let me introduce first here in the studio Ben Iluanisi, Acting Managing Director, Nigerian Railway Corporation. A pleasure to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
The pleasure is all mine. Good morning, everybody.
Thank you so much. Compliments of the season. And we also have in the studio Professor Umar Adam Kasaya, MNI. He is Vice Chancellor in the Federal University of Transportation, the Iraq in the state. He's also seated here in our studio. Compliments of the season.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you this bright morning.
All right, welcome, gentlemen. Let's begin this conversation. Let me ask Ben Iluanisi. Could you give us an idea, into the thinking of government when it decided to offer these free train services to Nigerians, and what category of Nigerians to use this?
Thank you very much for having me once more. Well, you see, it's a palliative which the federal government has decided to offer Nigerians to ease the suffering, to make transportation easier for them. And so it's a free train ride which is in its 4th day today. So it started on the 20th of December. It will run up until 5th of January, so about 17 days. And throughout that period, you would ride the train on our existing services. So I think it was mentioned earlier on the Lagos Ibadan train service, the Abuja Kaduna train service, the Warri Itakpe train service, the Port Harcourt Aba. Then we have the Lagos Metropolitan Mass Transit. All are currently free of charge. You can go to our website, you book a ticket free, obtain the ticket free. And I want to emphasize to the general public that it is absolutely free. You don't pay anybody for it. You just obtain a ticket from our website, come to your designated station, departing station, and board free of charge. If, however, you're unable to get the ticket online, you can still come to the station. We'll profile you, we'll validate you, but the important thing is you must come with a valid ID card. That's back to your question in terms of requirements. You must come with a valid ID card in terms of your NIN, your international passport, your voter's card, any form of valid ID card. And then we profile you, validate, and then you board. It's been a great, it's been well received, as we saw in the report. It's been well received by Nigerians.
Yes, I'm just coming
very happy.
Yes,
very,
how
very
they're
happy.
appreciating this gesture.
They love it. It's very, in fact, there was, I keep using this example. I was on one of your programs yesterday, I think. There was this copper. So he was going from Abuja, from Abuja to Kaduna, I think. So he was interviewed. He said that this is so fantastic that he's been able to add 4,000 to his alawi in terms of savings.
Yeah.
So you can see what it means to the public. It's a fantastic idea. It's a very, very, very good idea.
What has been the experience? You've run this now for about 4 days
today.
And what has been the experience in terms of patronage, in terms of management, managing the numbers, managing the logistics itself? How have you been able to do that? Because I know that, for instance, Abuja, or rather Itakpe, to worry, usually it's once in a day.
Yes.
How many are you running now? Is it still once?
Okay, yes, so we still maintain, first of all, we've maintained our schedule, our normal schedule, all through this period, and that's what we are going to do. No, it's fairly difficult to introduce an additional service. You need extra coaches, you need extra logistics and all that. So, but you see, we've had to, okay, for instance, we've had to increase our security. We've had to, I was at Kubwa station. In fact, all through, since it started, I've been going to the station every. So there is a lot of senior management involvement in terms of managing it. We've had to increase security in terms of crowd control and all of that. And I want to appeal to Nigerians. You see, because it's free, doesn't mean we should not be orderly. It's very important for Nigerians and our passengers to help us help them. If they come to the station, there are signs, there are rules, let them obey the rules. If they are told to queue up, let them queue up. In Rigasa yesterday, so when the train arrived, passengers that were supposed to be boarding, it was difficult for us to control them, to allow the people alighting to alight. You get? So I'm just appealing to the public to be orderly. We are trying our best. We've increased the presence. In fact, we have a lot of management presence at the stations.
But why do you have a rush? Why do you have a rush? Are there no seats allocated to individuals, or do you have, is it overbooked?
You see, typically, when things are free, people tend to abuse it, if I may use the word.
Call it a roof.
They call it a roof. Thank you very much. We have, you see, we have if you book online, you have allocated seats, right? If you come to the station, if you're unable to book online, if you come to the station, we have to find a way to manage giving you seats. So I'll give you a typical example. From Idu, the next stop is Kubwa, before you now get to Kaduna and Rigasa. If you book your seat online, to travel from Idu. So we have a number of people that booked. We also have a number of people that come to the station that didn't book at all, right? So we have to manage that number, bearing in mind that at Kubwa we are still going to pick passengers that booked online that have seats assigned. So for instance, we have to make sure that the number of ticketless, what I call ticketless in terms of the fact that they didn't book online, the number of ticketless passengers we are carrying at Idu will be just the right amount, not to overflow at Kubwa exactly. Right, so there's a lot of management in it, there's a lot of science to it, there's a lot of thinking around it. It's not, I mean, we've done it for 4 days now, and it's been hitch-free, thank God, and we'll do it for the next until the 5th of January.
Indeed, and it has sort of reduced the burden on road transportation.
Absolutely.
And the dangers on the road transportation. What's the security like?
Well, we've had to improve, we've had to increase the number of security personnel that run that follow the trains. We've also had to increase the number of security that we have, personnel that we have at the stations. So far, so good. So far, so good.
Okay, that's lovely. Now let's pause you there and bring in the Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Transportation, the Rakas and State, Professor Umar Adam Kasaya. We've listened to him, free train ride and all that, and we all know that you're involved deeply to bring focus to transportation, logistics of transportation. So, but I'm sure it's not easy. It's a new university, coming up. So, what are the prospects? How will it impact the transportation sector in Nigeria?
A lot of prospects. First, let me begin by congratulating NRC, Nigerian Railway Corporation, for being among the highest performing NDS in Nigeria. In fact, the second. Check the ICPC report. You will see it. This time around, NRC came second among all the NDS with 88.9 points. So not with 88. You see, it's a very good aim for a lecturer like me. And also let me add these three things you mentioned. First, the patronage. I'm an eyewitness, but a beneficiary. I use it from Rigasa to Kubwa, just day before yesterday. And also in terms of the logistics, you go online, I went online, I booked, I obtained the ticket, then screen and pass through. Then in terms of rush, I also experienced it, and this is as a result of 2 or 3 things. First, the passengers that book, they think that maybe they will miss their seat, so they rush, despite the fact that they have their tickets. Because that's it. It's allocated. Yes, why rushing? No, the ticket even not allocated. You choose the seat yourself. Because by the time you go online, before you conclude, you have to select ticket seat. Because if there's no seat, there'll be no ride for you. So for you to conclude, the payment, it says 0. 0 naira. 0 naira. Yes. Instead of 9,000 in terms of executive, and instead of 3,600 in terms of standard. So you see, people who come to rush, that's why they have ticket. And also those who doesn't have ticket, they think they want to come to the station to get the ticket. And unfortunately, because of the rush, to get to the ticket office, that's a barricade. Not like before, where you freely go to the ticket office to obtain the ticket. No, this time around, because of the rush, that's kind of checkpoint to confirm that you have ticket. So those who doesn't have the ticket, they would like to rush to get to the ticket office to obtain the ticket physically. So this is the essence, and what you added, that's the third one. What you added, since things is free now. So they think free, let them rush and see what they can.
Everybody will get to see.
Yes,
it's just in our nature in Nigeria to rush things like
that. Incessantly train, when you even allow, you see train has never collapsed because of overload. For example, it's just train and ship. Yeah. All you need is space. When you have space, you can load whatever you want to load. There'll be no problem, because even itself, the weight of the coaches and the weight of the engines is huge enough. So even if people are allowed to stand, remember in those days, you see some people even on top. On top. Yes, even like in Lagos, and sometimes you see the one that is being run by the federal government, you see people on top. Or just remember in India. Yes. Remember Bombay to go, you see people. So if people will be orderly or standing, there will be no problem. For people who will get to the station at that time, either the morning, the afternoon, because the train ride 6 times. 3 to Abuja from Kaduna, 3 to Kaduna from Abuja. Yes. Although there are 2.
We have enough trains.
Yes, there are 2. They go not at once. Yes, early in the morning now they cross. The first one from Kaduna, they interchange at Kuba, because it will leave earlier. Then this one, when it get there, then they will come back again. So coming to the Federal University of Transportation, Daura, one of its kind, not only in Nigeria but the whole of Africa. This is the first time you have a university dedicated to transportation, or dedicated for transportation activities, not activities, teaching and learning, research, to give degrees, postgraduate degrees, diplomas, and other professional courses, the whole gamut of transportation. When I say whole gamut of transportation, the rail we are talking about, the other surface, the highway, the air, and the water. We are not military, so our water and air transportation is civilian in nature. It's not for military, but to ferry human beings, goods, as well as services. When we say goods, including even the gas, you transport a gas from one point to another. You transport chemical from one point to another. You transport petroleum is also a chemical. Even the services, you are transporting some certain services. Yeah. You are transporting even the energy from one point to another. So there are logistics there. This side, actual transportation. Also, what do you need for efficient, only to transport, but to transport efficiently and effectively. So this university is actually established by the federal government. Also, the idea was conceived during the railway modernization project contract from Lagos to Kano. We still have the narrow gauge from Lagos to Kano, which was built very long ago. The railway services started even before Nigeria, because it was 1890, even before the Nigeria itself, isn't it? Also that time by the colonial masters or British, just for their own needs.
Convenience.
Because their own convenience. Why I say needs, mostly not to carry people, but natural resources. Our tea, our crops, our animals, the hides. That was the reason initially. Then they bring in people. And also to convey, at that time, the people they intend, I don't want to say slaves, the people they intend to work for them over there. But unfortunately, after they left, we continue to utilize it. Most of us here, if we do not utilize, our parents must have utilized it. Yes. Either going to school, if you are in Maiduguri, maybe you use it coming down up to Port Harcourt, or if you are in northern Nigeria going to southern Nigeria, or at least during the what we call regional, to either part of their region as a student, isn't it? Yeah. Or during holidays. We use it, but over time, unfortunately, the needed attention was not being given to this very important aspect, is this very important sector of transportation. And that's why some people now are seeing it's just like a new thing. It's not actually new. The people, you see them very happy, joyful. Please, one time, you don't need to go to Kaduna, just go to the metro station in the central city of Abuja, take a ride to either airport or to the Idu train station. You will enjoy it. And you see how people are enjoying it. Some staff now going to airport are no longer using their vehicles, are no longer taking buses or taxis. They are taking that ride. They go to that central area, Abuja city center, where you see this business World Trade Tower. Around that you see the station. So they park their vehicle because there's space. So they park their vehicle, take the ride to airport, or do whatever they want to do, and come back.
But it's part of the picture that you have tried to paint, of course, which sounds sweet and rosy. I do know that at some time, at some point in this country as well, when you say your father worked with the Nigerian Railway, they will look at you one kind, or you say NEPA. that became the picture at a particular time. Would you then say that where we are now, that Nigeria is growing, the Nigerian rail sector is growing as it should at this time in the nation's history? What's your assessment?
Yes, it's growing not as should be, because it should be growing faster faster than it's growing now. However, and interestingly, the federal government is prepared under the Road Hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Honorable Minister, Federal Minister of Transportation, Senator Ahmed Ali, because now, although this happened during the previous government, the removal of railway from exclusive list to concurrent list, now that you and me can decide and partner to have railway services as private investors. That's why you see now Lagos is having it. Some other states are preparing to have, and some investors are coming in. Interestingly, even day before, so while at the station in Abuja, I was waiting for a taxi for a friend to come from my vehicle to come and pick me. Another person was waiting for the train to come back from Idu or to arrive from Idu. They're saying that if we have a chance, we can bring investors who can build rail line from Kano down to Sudan, to Central Africa.
Yes.
Because you know the road coming from Lagos to Abuja or through Benengari is down not only to Kano, not only to Maiduguri, but up to Central Africa. That's why you see the road is being overcrowded, the road is being overused with goods, mostly with goods. If people bring their goods from the water, they can take it down, because some of those some of those countries are landlocked. Chad, the Sudan, the Central Africa. They don't have water, so they use our water, whether we know or we don't know. And when they are bringing their goods also outside to Europe, to America, now to UK, they also use this route. So now there's a lot of, in my assessment, of prospects, and the attention is being given. That's why you see the expansion. That's why you see the renovation. Besides the railway modernization project, new standard gauge from Lagos to Kano, which the segment of Lagos to Ibadan has been completed and being used for both human and goods. Also, Abuja, Kaduna is being used. Kano, or Kaduna-Kano is almost 70% completed, because now from Kaduna to Makarfi, close to around Zaria. If you are going to Kano from Zaria or from Kaduna, you pass the bridge, which is already completed. Everything. So the train is already using, but not for commercial. So it means that segment and share within the 2025 it will be completed. So from also Kaduna to Kano, people The other segment, Ibadan to Ilorin, Abuja, are also being given attention, and I know in the future they will commence. And remember, not only human, also the goods. If you see the amount of goods people are taking, more especially during this festive season, carrying goods, rice, from oil and whatever, clothes, from one point to another, with intention of go and spend their Yuletide season.
It's easy to carry loads.
It's very convenient. So I am sure Nigerians will appreciate the federal government under the New Hope agenda for linking families in this very convenient, easy and free ways and manner of transportation in this country. And you don't need safety. When you go along the road now, not only the road is bad, but because of the number of the vehicles, the gridlock, and unfortunately once a truck falls, so you don't know when you will move from that spot. So interestingly, it's also even the road is giving the attention, because I had during the newspaper review, they may mention even the coastal line that is in off-road review, so that the work can continue to go, and also remember the super highway that agreed to Sokoto.
Yeah, but the transport sector contributes hugely to economic growth of any country, and we know that this expansion program is to revitalize and re-energize the railway sector. But the question is, what has hindered the sector so far?
Well,
what are the key issues?
Naturally, resources, if you like, in terms of funding. We've had to, as Professor said earlier on, rail sector is a very, very capital-intensive sector, right? We've recently developed what we call track access, where we are looking at investors coming in. It's not only the government that would do this alone. If we can get investors coming in, we have what we call track access protocol, where investors can come in. If you can come in with your own wagons, with your own coaches and all that, and we'll give you access to be able to run your services. We also welcome investors. What Lagos State is doing now, we welcome all other states to. So that's in terms of funding, because yes, federal government is trying very much, and but funding is always a very critical element of it. Then, attitude of Nigerians is also a problem. The VC gave a background in terms of that the rail has been there for ages, right? There was a period it wasn't functional. So what Nigerians, a lot of people did, they went and removed the tracks, and it's still happening now, right? Vandalism of the track, that's a major issue for us, right? So and if you vandalize the track, of course we provided security and all of that, but if we keep vandalizing the tracks, that means the train will not function, or the train will derail if it gets there. So that's the second challenge we're having. But thank federal government, thank you to our Honorable Minister of Transportation. They've called it like a real prerogative in terms of infrastructure development in Nigeria. Rail is a real prerogative for them now, and we on our part as NRC, we are trying our best, development of a track access, better management and all of that, to make sure that that it works.
What about partnerships?
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Who are you partnering with?
We are looking for partners, really, to come in through our track access, right? Currently, CCCC, Motor Angle, they are all part of our partners in terms of the construction of the tracks. And now, since the railway is now decentralized, if you like, is no longer exclusive, so we are also looking to stake to become players in the industry. Lagos State has led the way. I know some other states are Jos. We're partnering with Jos, even though it's our line.
Just a Plateau State.
Plateau State, yes, please. Even though it's our line, but we are looking at areas of collaboration in terms of either them paying for some things while we run the.
What about Maiduguri?
Well, okay,
so I remember it was such a vibrant.
It was.
Yes.
What has happened so far is that the Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, the rehabilitation is ongoing now, right? But the section from Port Harcourt to Aba has been handed over to us, and it's functional.
Okay.
So from Aba down to, so they do it section by section, you know. So from Aba down up to Maiduguri is on.
I'll rather ask, Nigeria has more than 200 million people, which makes it a big market for the rail sector.
Absolutely.
So why are we not having investors? Because investors who come in a country where the transport sector is not quite developed, and you develop it, you're going to make returns. So what are the issues preventing investors from getting into that rail sector?
Well, you see, I'm not an investor, if you like, so I am a stakeholder.
You sit on the table with investors to talk.
Yes. You see, first of all, you have to realize that there is financial downturn globally, not only Nigeria, globally. And they have to look at risks, they have to look at so many things. One of the key things is actually security, really. We have to look at how to security and all of that, because there's something called investor confidence and all of that, right? So and of course we not that we are having people come, if you see my point, investors come, we are having discussions with them, we are looking at risk analysis, we are looking at everything, but I mean, we hope that will get people quite soon. Interestingly, we some of the modernization programs we are going through, we are looking at people, countries, if you like, or investors that will come and be part of it. Motor Engel, as I said earlier on, they are part of a partnership for the Kanu-Maradi line. CC, we are partnering with them as well, and we are open as an organization for investors to come in.
You mentioned the Kanu-Maradi, I was thinking, since the signing of the AFTA by ECOWAS, and then now we are seeing some of the countries pulling out of ECOWAS by June 2025. What is the possibility of that rail line?
It's very possible. It's already working.
Okay.
Let me add, when we talk about investment, it's not gloomy, it's very bright. Remember the cost of railway infrastructure. Clearing the way, compensation, putting the earthwork, bringing the cables, setting it before you come to lay the rail. It's very costly. However, this costly infrastructure, after putting it, it's still for ages. So the possibility of recovery is more than 100%. And the possibility of making a lot, huge amount of money is also there. Remember that not only are human goods, even the just transporting fuel, diesel, even on that aspect, when they have tankers, remember the amount of money tankers are making. So there's a lot of prospect in that aspect. And that's what bring even the establishment of this university to build the capacity, because you need capacity to do that. What I mean by capacity, those who can construct, those who can manage, those who can run. And this is the essence of this university, to build the capacity for Nigerians and Africans, not only Nigeria, but also Africa, so that they can talk in that transportation language. The kind of that you mentioned, is ongoing. When you move from Kano now, when you are going, just observe your left-hand side. You will see the sign of construction going on, and you will also be seeing vehicles. In certain places now, they have even started laying the track. You know, some people, they gauge a rail line when they see track or when they see the rail started moving, but it takes a lot of work. More especially when you are crossing cities, you are crossing villages, to get compensation, paid, to get the right of way. So, but when you go there, you see the work is going on. Not only the rail, but also the stations along the line. And when you get to despite the fact that Niger and Burkina Faso are pulling out from ECOWAS, that doesn't stop movement of goods and passes among those countries. Remember, even the countries they mentioned that ECOWAS citizens, they have the right without any visa. They can go to those countries and live in those countries because they know that nobody can live in isolation. Even where you are fighting, even in Gaza and Ukraine, you see movement. And interestingly, transportation is one of such things. Remember that you don't need to learn French for a trained pilot to enter into that country. As the aircraft pilot doesn't need to know English when an Arabian man or when a French man is coming to Nigeria. Remember once a pilot is bringing an aircraft from Qatar or from Doha. It could be an Arab man, could be a French man, but the language, what we do, we will bring down the aircraft and even park to a location, because the communication is a transportation communication, which is common. Doesn't need to use your own language. It's a common language, and in that aspect, even Nigeria and Niger, because transportation, they cannot stop it. It will interest you to go and see the kind of truck heavily loaded with goods going out from Kano market to Niger. Somebody will be surprised. What's wrong with this Nigerian head of state doing? Does he really know what is going on? To just go around the market like yesterday, that's when an international market in Maadwa local government in the Emirate called Maadwa market. If you go there, I'm sure 40 to 50% of the people going to that market are also from Niger, because the market is close to Niger. Okay, and you see, yes, the way they are coming, because definitely, despite the fact that we are complaining about the cost of living, for those people to come with their SEPA, it's much cheaper for them
to buy from them. Yeah.
So you see them going to the market buying. So, and remember also, the borders are very thin line. In some places, when you go in Sokoto State, when you go to Elela is a lot of government, but the road crossing, the town, the one side is Nigeria, one side is Niger. So when you see the one family. So the borders are very
There's been so much talk about the Kano Maradi rail line, and I like to ask Prof, what should be the biggest considerations when investing in new rail tracks, trying to develop new routes? Some will argue that how many places can you go to from the federal capital should be a big consideration. How many places can you go to from Lagos, the nerve center, the economic nerve center of the country, from Kano, the northern powerhouse, and all of that? Imagine running directly from Abuja to Lagos, Abuja to Asaba, Abuja to Port Harcourt, Abuja to Maiduguri, and the likes of them. So what should be the biggest consideration in investing in new tracks.
Well, I don't know so much talk you are talking about because you are not specific. Although you made mention maybe the number of people that will move from Abuja to Lagos or from Lagos to Port Harcourt.
Just because it is capital, capital to capital, what it holds significant for the economy.
Simply because these are capital, that's only a consideration we give. And most of those coming to Abuja, you see, either civil servant looking to come to clear certain things or to come for a job or for whatever. But when we talk about movement of persons and goods, when we also talk about the number of people, the population, you can't in Nigeria, you cannot afford not to bring Kano, if not first, but second. And also the market. That's why I mentioned that to Kano. Yes, Kano, they say Jalla Barhausa. Whatever you are doing, when you get hold of Kano market, you are finished. Because people are coming from Niger, not on daily basis, not on hourly basis, but on minute basis. This is a road that is never closed, whether it is daytime, it is morning, it is afternoon, midnight, and interestingly, because it's also safe.
Yes, movement.
Yes, that area from Kano to Niger. From Kano to, even the road is not directly, Kano is not directly to the Maradi we are talking about. The road, you have to pass through Katsina to get to Maradi, but when you go straight from Kano to Zinder, down to to Niamey.
Remember, my question is, what should be the biggest concern?
So the situation there is the market. Because when you are moving, you think about what do you move? You move persons. Because Maradi is another capital in Niger. Also very close, not far away from Nigeria, because from Katsina, even the area of Maradi is a Katsina Maradi. Because of the not only proximity, in those days before the emergence of Nigeria and Niger, it's the same as one is like one emirate. So goods are being moved from these two locations. And remember also, goods are coming to Nigeria. Some from Cotonou, from even as far as Lomé,
Central Africa.
Yes, West Africa. I'm talking about West Africa because Kano, Niger is. Yeah. So goods are coming from as far as Lomé through Niger, through Maradi, then coming to Katsina, pass even up to Aba Market by road. So with the emergence of this line, it will ease the movement of heavy goods. For those who are in Katsina, they will know that many a times in the daytime or in the night, you count over 100 trucks bringing goods and spoiling the road. Why they even leave until in the night, so that because they will not create unnecessary gridlock, so they allow until in the night. From around Maradi, just inside Niger, the truck will land up, 100 of them. Then the night they'll be coming down to Kano. Some they upload in Kano because this is where the destination. Some after uploading, then they will load again, continue western part of Nigeria. So this red line is the movement, and the ferry of goods will be much easier, and the money will come. Remember, it's part of the investment we are talking about. Not only federal government is only paying counterpart funding. This one is not even by China, it's by Portuguese. The motor engine is a Portuguese company, and they are working hard when you go there. So if they will not make money out of it, so they will not do it. So the concentration is making money and more money by moving goods and
services across.
Who knows? Maybe that rail will move from Maradi up to Niamey. And let me tell you, it's not a new thing. It's an old plan. Just like superhighway, Badagry to Sokoto. Actually, Mr. President is realizing the dream of late President Muhammad Shagari. Yes. Abu Shagari. Because since during their time they wanted to build, because from Lagos to Badagry, you have your road. From Badagry to Benin, you have your road. But they see it, going from Niger, from Sokoto, to go to Lagos. You don't need to pass through Kano or pass through Katsina, coming to Nina, to Abuja, or through Benungari to get to Lagos. From that way, superhighway will be much easier to move also goods and services. Okay. So the same thing with this one. So the consideration is actually to move goods and people with ease.
Okay, and thank you so much. Andy, let me bring you into this conversation now. And as the railway expansion is expected to create jobs, you know, during the construction phase and also subsequently with operational, and so I'm sure we'll be getting staff from there. We need all hands on deck. But one question I'm a woman, I need to ask questions because I've seen women, driving trains, and Nigeria is like a male-dominated area. There we'll be having more female, a mix of everybody, when this job is available for Nigerians.
You see, in the Nigerian Railway Corporation, our thing is about capacity. We are gender sensitive. As long as you can do the work, we will do the work. If we train female to drive a locomotive, they will drive the locomotives. So we are open. Our director admin today is a lady. Our director of finance today is a lady. So we look at capacity, we look at capability. And if Prof gives us from his university, gives us a mechanical engineer. We have female mechanical engineers, we have female civil engineers as we speak today. So we are all inclusive.
What are the broader plans for the rail sector? And do you think that the rail sector is lucrative enough to fund itself? And what I mean is, of course, it's not going to be a day's thing. The money you make from route A, route B, to fund route C, for instance, fund route D, is it that well run?
You see, first of all, as we pointed out earlier on, it's a very capital-intensive environment, right? I'll just go back to what we were talking earlier on about why or how before doing a project. You see, the important thing is about interconnectivity. So, if, like, I'll just give you, let's just continue on that Maradi Kanu line. From Lagos, right, we've connected to the port, to the Apapa port. So we're able to move goods from the port out.
Reduce congestion.
Reduce congestions, right. That line is actually Lagos-Kano. The first segment of it, Lagos-Ibadan, is completed, it's functional. So imagine if the last sections of it or segments of it are completed and you are able to move goods from the port in Lagos all the way to Kano, potentially all the way to Maradi. Right. The implication is that you might have people using our seaport more.
Yes.
Right? So there is a lot of benefits in the rail industry. A lot of benefits. Back to your question again. What once we're able to do, the problem we are facing today, as a matter of fact, is that cost of input into the rail industry is skyrocketed. Look at diesel today. How much is diesel? Right? So it's difficult to break even. It is very difficult to break even, right? But we're trying our best. We're looking at other strategies. We're also reviewing our routes in terms of what works for us. And the other thing you have to understand too is that we're a service provider, if you like. We're essentially a service provider, right? That's why government is helping us a lot in terms of trying to give us subsidies in one way or the other, and all of that. So we keep pushing it.
Yes, you can. Nigerians will keep encouraging you, actually.
Thank you very much.
Let me bring in Prof into this conversation again. And we've talked about staffing during construction, after construction, and how are you building awareness, around the importance and opportunities, in transportation studies? How essential is it? And because in Nigeria people say, well, why are you going to a transportation university? What are you going to do there? So how are you raising, the interest to come to university so that they can be part of the reforms, in the transport sector in Nigeria?
The interest is very high.
Okay.
And first, in terms of inclusivity, bringing women. Currently, in the metro line in FCT, FCT also is not the federal government, it's FCT that's running it. And the head is Engineer Rabi, is a woman. When you get there, you see so the inclusivity. When you come to Federal University of Transportation, you see the engineering aspect or engineering courses. Railway engineering, aviation engineering, the civil engineering, the electrical and electronic engineering, the mechatronics, the highway engineering. There are a lot of young girls. Yes, girls are there, not only boys. And in terms of men or understanding, currently the JAM only give us, or graciously give us 500 quota to admit 500 students. In this session. Yes, in this session. The last session also 500. But interestingly, over 150, over 1,500 applied last year. So we have to go back to JAM to give us attrition. So they added 100. We admitted 600. Although after screening and registration exercise, we are only able to admit 494 because of the rigorous exercise they passed through. Also this year we have already exhausted the 500 and we applied for JAM. Immediately after that I will check, maybe they must have granted the attrition. So the awareness is there. Also this time around, when I checked yesterday on the dashboard, on the portal, 1,555 so far applied. And we admitted 500, exhausting the quota. Exhausting the quota. So you see the awareness is very there. And you have a lot of things to do. One, let's start with the area where the university is, the Kano Maradi. You see a lot of jobs there. The civil engineering job, constructing the rail line, the electrical aspect, connecting the communication, signaling, isn't it? Because not only people when they enter they sit down maybe sleeping, but their communication going on, isn't it? So some people are there communicating, connecting. So you see a lot of jobs. When you get to the station, besides the station manager and his staff and other people taking care about the logistic aspect, maintaining the track. Now it's Hamatan season, isn't it? You have to look at the track also. What you mean? Is this contraction or expansion?
And
also the reason you not know.
And visibility.
Yes, not only visibility, we are talking about the physical aspect.
So Hamatan affects
the physical aspect. People do to know. You not know.
Yeah.
Yes, they are there working. So there are a lot of opportunities. The visibility in the trend has not much problem because when you enter, it's not like this glass I'm using or the vehicles, your car windscreen. No, the train windscreen is different. You see a very long distance, over 1 kilometer.
Magnified.
You see it. And also, you see like a train is not moving, go close to it and stand. You see it's fast moving. It's fast moving. In fact, where they are showing it, like this train going to Kaduna, it's because because of the crossing, people are crossing. You see, there's no railway crossing again. Like those days, whereby when you come with your vehicle, you have to turn because of crossing. Not that one now. In all the road now, you go either with the train go under or over. Yes, because the train is very fast now. And remember the electric train. The bullet, when you go to China, the bullet train, now they are building train which will be as fast as aircraft.
So we're going to get trains like that in Nigeria.
That's the opportunity. That's the opportunity. That's where young people need to come in. That's where the opportunity is. Isn't it? Because it's coming, and fast coming. And not only that, also the logistic aspect. The connecting people. This thing we talk about e-ticketing. It's knowledge, connecting people, selecting your seat, taking online, are all knowledge which you take advantage, as people are taking advantage of both InDrive, Uber. Additionally, the market aspect. He made mention that people will bring their goods through the water from other part of the world. You don't need to collect your goods at Lagos, Tenkan or wherever. You can collect your goods at dry port, the inland dry port in Kano. So it is the clear area that we use the train. Even now, before completing this modern one, the standard gauge, the narrow gauge is still functioning from Lagos to Kano, and goods are being moved using the old narrow gauge we are talking about. It's still functioning. So if people are moving their goods, you don't need to bother yourself going go to be in demolition and calling so much money to the extent that sometimes you run away because when you remember the amount of money to pay, when you save the goods, it will not recover that money. So there are a lot of opportunities, and young men are coming, studying. As I made mention, besides the engineering aspect, that's management aspect. That's also what we call planning aspect. The economic aspect of it in the university, because we are also running what we call maritime economics. As the news, as now we have ministry splitted, when the Ministry of Transportation was splitted to have transportation and marine and blue economy. The maritime aspect, the economy there. In fact, now, if you have expertise in ship finances all over the world, people will be looking for you.
So you have all that in
yes, not only that, we also look at inland waterways. You know, once it's a rainy season, you'll be having this sharp right from Kebbi State down to Akwa Ibom in our inland waters, because besides the sea, the high sea, we also have waters, rivers, in Niger State, Kogi State, Bayelsa, many countries, including Jigawa and even Kebbi. Just last month, even a month, you know, there was that problem in Niger, in Kogi. Why? Because the capacity to move in our waters is no longer there. Most of the boats are very old boats, and they are using stick instead to move. Yes, and also because the boats are not many. You see, overloaded. The last one that had problem, over 100 bags of maize, rice, and whatever, and over 200 people are in an old boat. And then it hits a rock. This time is not even a rock. It's wooden, it's dead wood. Why? Because there are no sensors. Because it's old one. But nowadays, we are building capacities where we can construct modern boats or using plastic, which you can put sensors so that they can see their front. Not only their front, they can also see inside. And even if they didn't see, the sensor will move automatically. We divert. All right.
All that is done is being learned to
not only that, also short and effective courses so that you transportation.
before I let you go, let me quickly ask Ben. You know, earlier you talked about, while talking about the free train service, you talked about, you know, the attitude of Nigerians. And I ask, how much of enlightenment, how much of awareness goes into your work, your service, because that's a major part of it. If you're able to tell people that this is what you get for sure, this is what you don't get, no matter how hard you try or how much you rush, you know, that this is what you get because you have done this or not done this. How much of it do you do?
You're absolutely right. Even before the service started, right? Before this service started, we've been on social media. We've been talking to people, and we've been sharing modalities with the general public on how they board the trains and all that. We also have at the stations, we have clear signs and clear in terms of what they need to do and how they need to do it. Since it started, I've probably been on television or on social media 3 or 4 days consecutively, something like that, showing awareness, creating awareness, and making sure that.
I guess more needs to be done, but we've run out of time, and we have to move on to something else. So let me thank you, Ben Ileani, acting managing director, Nigerian Railway Corporation. It's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much.
Let me also thank Professor Umar Adam Katsayao, VC, Federal University of Transportation, Daura, Katsina State. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much for coming.
We'll take a break now. While we return, it will be time for our second topic.
All right. Thank you for staying with us. This is Good Morning Nigeria on the NTA. Now, in the last one, there's been disturbing incidents occurring in Anambra, where 22 people lost their lives in a tragic stampede that occurred on Saturday in Okija, in here in our local government area of the state. Of course, there's also been and the FCT.
Indeed, and the incident occurred during the distribution of free rice to indigent people in the area. And if you recall that a similar scenario played out during distribution of free rice to students in Nasarawa State. Several lives were also lost.
And President Bola Tinubu has even cancelled some of his engagements earlier scheduled for the season in honor of the victims of the Anambra, Oyo and FCT stampedes. Crowd management is an issue that many are expressing concern about as these free rail services continue across the country.
And now joining us to speak on crowd management is Abbas Idris, former DG FCT Emergency Management Agency. You're welcome to Good Morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
I've not seen you quite a while, actually.
Absolutely, I was resting.
So what's your initial reaction to these incidents of stampedes in Anambra, in Abuja, in Oyo?
Well, unfortunately, let me start by condoling the families of those who lost their lives and those who also have gotten injured as a result of the stampede. In a normal situation, we ought to have done a very long planning in whatever distribution that we want to carry out, no matter how small it is. Scientifically, you have to get the risk assessment, assess the risk. In assessing the risk, you'll be able to know the number of people that you are going to target, who are going to be the vulnerable people that you are going to give, and then you also be able to know the space you are going to use, and know the entry and exit points as you get there, because in most cases, even if the distribution starts, you find out that as you go, you are coming back through the same route, then you are going to have problem. It's supposed to, you have to get entry point and then exit point. Then also, and all this have to be done along with the stakeholders. The stakeholders in this matter, you don't just go alone and start distribution. There are so many stakeholders that are important in that situation. The security is one of them. You must plan with them and then distribute with them. You must also take fire service with you in case there is fire. What do? like what happened in Bauchi, I think, when last year when one Alhaji was distributing zakat to the people. So many people lost their lives. There were no intervention, fire intervention, nothing. You have to rescue team. The rescue team must be available so that if there is any problem, the rescue team will go in and start operation immediately, and then you have to get the medical team. You have to have ambulance around in case of anything that can take people, rush them to the hospital immediately. And before then, you must have informed nearby hospitals that these are the issues, these are the events that is going on, and in case we have this, we will bring the patients or the victims to your hospital. You must have that understanding so that by the time you get to the hospital, you are not going to be delayed. And then also you must make sure that the communities are carried around. You along with this, you must tell them that this is what we are going to do, and this is the number of items we are going to share. If the number of items you are going to share is going to be less than what people are, then you have to make adequate arrangement that for safety, where you can keep far away from the people that they can see. But by the time you come and display everything on the floor, and even passerby who is also hungry, by the time he see that, definitely he will wait. And if you don't allow him to get in, he will use force. And I think that was what happened in Metama. Some people used force to break the gate and gain access. And even those that are there, if the items are few and the people are many, then people will start thinking, I will not get it. So I will do everything possible to make sure that I get it first. Exactly. So they will now cause trouble, and then there will be commotion, and then stampede starts. And that is the problem we are always having. We don't really adequately plan and involve the stakeholders. These stakeholders, they are not going to take anything from you. They can organize this thing for you, and everybody knows that, like Nigerian Red Cross, globally, this is their own job. Even we, in that aspect, we call them to come and distribute for us. So they will do the distribution and they will advise you.
So you know, poor planning, coordination and all that is attributed to what is happening now. So what gaps should people look out for, you know, while planning this kind of, you know, exercise? And what should Nigerians who are going to receive these gifts from these people, you know, look out for in case of...
Absolutely, you have to use the current situation you are. If you distribute 1 million bags of rice last year, it is not going to be possible for you to distribute 10 million rice safely this year. Considering what is in the land, there is hunger in the land. Whether we like it or not, we must address that issue. There is hunger in the land. And if you have 10 million bags of rice, before you know it, you must have gathered more than 30 million people around that area. So if you start distributing, definitely you know that there's going to be stampede, and so people will die. So the situation first, you will look at the situation first, then you start planning on the current situation. As the situation is changing, you are also changing. If you needed 200 policemen to be there, probably you have to tell the commissioner of police that you need 500 now, considering the situation you are looking at. And these people, the stakeholders that are having meeting, will be able to guide you and tell you that, look, the situation is so critical, we can't be able to really guarantee the lives of the people, the safety of the people. And in every situation there are safety protocols. Once we avoid the safety protocols, then we are in for it.
Now, the ordinary Nigerians who usually are victims of these kind of scenarios, what should be their attitude towards in situations like this? What red flags can they look out for?
Well, you see, we have a culture of impatience, even when things are normal. And so it is very difficult to tell a Nigerian, don't go and don't go, or don't even wait.
Wait, don't go, yes.
They will not. So the problem is that it's another aspect that people need to be educated and need to be enlightened that, look, If it is for you, you will get it. Accept that. And if not, the culture will be always there that they want to get their own first before any other person.
Especially
you see that it is not
if it's free.
Exactly, free. And if it is free, even those who have also join.
Yes, join.
If you go to, unfortunately, if you go to Saudi Arabia, you will see those who have sponsored some people to Mecca are queuing to collect food from disabled trucks. Meanwhile, they can afford to eat and do whatever. They live in a very big hotel, but yet they are collecting from those ones meant for the vulnerable people. So our own culture needs to be changed.
So should there be a policy on how these types of processes should be conducted?
Yes, I think government has to really come in seriously. We are losing lives. Over 50 lives in just 4 days is not a joke.
And most of them women and children.
Women and children. And one life is so important, but 50 lives in 4 days, it is so alarming. So the government has to come in and ensure that the safety protocols are enforced in every situation, and they make sure that before distribution is made, if the police are called only for that, they were not invited at the planning stage, I don't think they should go. They should stop that distribution. Let the planning committee sit down and do all the plannings and assure that based on what we have done, we are thinking that we will get safety. And if the police get there, without that, they can stop that.
Do you think any amendment needs to be made in terms of the arrangement made for the free train services? Already the acting MD of the NIC was telling us that, well, there's still rush, but they are able to manage the situation. Is there something that needs to be done now before it is made?
I didn't see reason why we should have crowd at the train stations. One, we are using ticketing. Even if it is free, you go on and book. If you don't have ticket, what takes you to train station? So
they also allowed for those who couldn't to come.
That is the problem.
And obtain tickets.
No. They shouldn't do that. You know, they shouldn't do that. They should restrict people to online ticketing. They shouldn't allow people before it becomes free. If you go there to buy a ticket, they will not sell it for you. They will tell you that it has to be online.
About the glitches in network,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Life is very important. Get the glitch and have your life. So whatever you do, try to get to book. If you get the ticket, fine and good, go. If you don't have the ticket, don't go to the train station. So the Nigerian Railway Corporation must enforce that. But they allow that people get in and be standing from here to Kaduna. If anything happens.
So should there be penalties where people who despite you go ahead to?
No, not the people. It's the Nigerian Railway.
I mean, when we talk about generally stampede, should there be penalty for people going to the authorities to get a badge?
There should be. If we didn't start sanctioning people, they will continue to kill people for just 2 noodles of rice.
So, a final line for you before we go. What's the final line?
My final line is that we are losing lives. We should come back to our senses and value the lives that we have. If we value the lives that we have, everything that we are going to do, life first. We'll consider life first. Coming to this room, I look around and see where is the emergency exit if there is fire. All of us here.
So have you seen one?
No, I didn't see any.
There's a door there.
Where is the door? You block it with everything. So I can't have access. That's the first thing I consider. So if the government can such things wherever you go,
yes, access.
First access, life first. But you go to a hotel, big banquet hall, you see that they block all the emergency.
Even in houses, the staircase behind
they block it.
Yes,
so we need to change our culture and value our lives.
Abbas Idris, former DG FCT Emergency Management Agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Thanks so much for joining us. I am Jumai Yusuf.
And I am Victor. So we'll see you again tomorrow.